In August of 2022, a brand new Melee Battle Royale named Rumbleverse was released to the public. It was fresh, it was colorful, it was innovative, and after just 6 months of being online, it was shut down. Fuck.
I didn't want to have to open this video with the video game equivalent of the family dog passing away. I was gonna be all like, the Battle Royale has taken the world by storm, and then, you know what, I'll just do it anyway. The Battle Royale has taken the world by storm. On paper, it's the perfect game genre. Infinitely replayable, massively multiplayer, competitive, and most importantly, easy to pack full of battle passes and microtransactions. Yet, why do so many of them feel the same? Despite outcries of gaming not being what it used to be, there exists true creativity, true variety. However, finding it takes time and experimentation. Leaving your gaming comfort zone can be a scary thing. It's why comparisons are so often used to lead wary players across the bridge of unfamiliarity, and it's also why risky ideas don't always succeed in a space that requires a considerable amount of time investment. There are so many live service games competing for your money and attention that shaking things up means fighting tooth and nail for survival, and it's tough for fists, dodgeballs, and magic spells to hold their own in the ring against assault rifles and shotguns. After this lead-in, I planned to talk about why Rumbleverse was such an incredible game, and while I'm still gonna do that, the fact that it shut down does impact this story. I started writing this video at the end of 2022, and I thought the game still had a good amount of fight left in it, so I was excited to discuss why it stood as a bastion of hope in the world of online multiplayer. That, and I'd logged several hundred hours over the course of a few months, which meant it was occupying enough space in my brain to warrant a video. Near the end of January, rumors began that Rumbleverse was to be shut down as its second season came to a close. My friends and I decided to stay faithful and hoped that the news wasn't true. A few days later, I hopped on a plane for a much-needed vacation, but as soon as I touched down and turned on my phone's data, I noticed that I had a few Discord messages. Over the course of my 2-week vacation, I did absolutely nothing fun, silently ruminating on the closure of my favorite battle royale. And while I can't say I came to any big conclusions, I can say that one night I journeyed across Tokyo and used my rudimentary Japanese knowledge to sign up for 3 hours of gaming at a PC cafe. I really want to know how the staff felt when they saw that the only game I wrote down on the form was something called Rumbleverse. The developers obviously haven't talked about details of the game's closure or shared info on revenue and player numbers, but it clearly wasn't about to be the next Fortnite. While I will be touching on Rumbleverse's struggle to find popularity, I want to talk about a lot more than just why it died. I don't think Rumbleverse made some set of inherent mistakes as a video game, and I believe that many of the reasons it struggled to find an audience were why it felt so refreshing. So talking about what made it amazing goes hand in hand with analyzing its unfortunate fate. So without further ado, let me paint you a picture of one of the silliest multiplayer games I've ever had the joy of playing. Rumbleverse was the hilariously cartoonish yet surprisingly deep result of a 3D platformer, a fighting game, and a battle royale spending a very strange night together, where you'd beat the shit out of your enemies with slaps, kicks, punches, tackles, and choke slams while flinging yourself across cars, trees, and buildings. It was packed with a metric fuck ton of charm, but its unique style had a tendency to come off as overwhelming. Art truly is subjective, but when I asked most of my friends for their thoughts on the visual style, especially how the characters looked, ugly was often the first word that came to mind. However, it feels so intertwined with its overall design that I can't imagine the game looking any other way, despite my assumption that a TikTok with the tagline, "Check out this anime girl wrestling game," could have pulled some crazy views. The Rumble took place in Grappital City, an entire city built to celebrate all forms of melee combat. 40 players were blasted out of a cannon into different corners of a detailed map, filled with towering skyscrapers, picturesque vacation spots, and clams that made funny burping noises when you bounced on them. and one of them had a unique noise.
The one in front, I swear it makes a different sound, but it might be crazy, so don't get your hopes up.
Oh, it's going, oh! Oh my god, that's
Dude,
insane!
I told you, bro!
Just about every combat-centric battle royale takes place across a massive, sprawling map. Variety is added through named and organized points of interest, but there's often a lot of less interesting land surrounding these locations to make the map sufficiently sized. I'm not saying this is an inherently bad choice, but the detail found in Rumbleverse was a breath of fresh air. Everything in Grappital City had an incredible sense of thematic relevance, and the entire map felt like a carefully designed level. Every district had a distinct style, and every building felt uniquely asymmetrical and hand-drawn. I feel like I memorized so much of the map that you could print it out of my brain, thanks to crazy landmarks like the, terrifying ice cream clown monster. Walking by drive-through windows would play unintelligible audio from a fucked up speaker. The financial districts and resorts had massive statues, a waffle clock, and a fizzy champagne pool, while the old downtown area was filled with pollution and graffiti. Seagulls had chiseled abs and flowing hair and chirped the word swole as they flew off, and your character would blow on their thumb to reinflate themselves like a balloon if you jumped off a tall structure. Everything was so over the top and comical, presented in-universe as a TV broadcast, like a slightly less fucked up version of the Hunger Games. Giant crates filled with items would fall from the sky, food trucks would dispense free chicken and nachos, and many of the skills were inspired by goofy wrestling moves. Even the pre-game lobby was given an immense amount of care, with crates being loaded into the cannon that launches all the players into the city, a DJ setup with unique animations, and vending machines filled with weapons and moves to help you get some practice in before the match. The carefree aesthetic was topped off with an infectiously energetic announcer, who was one of the highlights of the entire game.
Welcome to the Rumble!
To provide the voice of Skip Leggerday, Iron Galaxy hired Dave Fennoy, who you might recognize from iconic roles like Rodon in Bayonetta and Lee Everett in The Walking Dead. This dude was the ultimate hype man. He'd cheer you on when you knocked people out and made cheesy puns when specific events occurred throughout the match.
I'm calling this contestant the dictionary, because they have definition. Ha-ha! See what I did there?
Even when you'd be waiting for matches to begin, he'd perform ad reads for fake companies or start waxing poetic about how much he loves the people of Grappital City. It's a feature I thought I'd slowly grow tired of, but even after exceeding 200 hours of playtime, I never touched Skip's volume slider.
I love this team. I hope they stay friends forever. Close this out. You've got a match to win. More boinging. They've gone boing crazy.
On the depressing side of things, this stuff was almost too cheesy. At a glance, it was easy for Rumbleverse to look like a flavor of the week party game, and I'm sure there were plenty of seasoned gamers that never gave it the time of day. A game like Fall Guys takes this idea in stride, but the problem with Rumbleverse was that despite its appearance, it wasn't a casual jelly bean stumble to the finish line. It was a surprisingly complex fighter and platformer. Competitive multiplayer games tend to be confined to a subset of game genres, and skills can often transfer from one game to another. If you're a decent shot in CSGO, you'll have a leg up against the competition in Apex, Valorant, Fortnite, and whatever else the kids are playing these days. The same can be said for the fundamentals of fighting games like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter, but to be good at Rumbleverse, you couldn't just be good at aiming a crosshair, memorizing combos, having the fastest reaction times, or playing the neutral. You had to be good at Rumbleverse. This is where the gaming comfort zone I mentioned earlier came into play, and why Rumbleverse being so different may have hurt its chances in the Battle Royale scene. People that were willing to give this game a real chance needed to have the patience to learn its many rules from the ground up, and go through the classic getting your shit kicked in phase of a fighting game with a dedicated player base. But before I get into talking about the gameplay, I think I need to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back. Hello, gamers. Contrary to what Rumbleverse may have you believe, if you subsist on a diet of nothing but fried chicken, nachos, popcorn, and milkshakes, the only rumble you're gonna be experiencing is in your tummy. But you're in luck thanks to today's sponsor, HelloFresh.
Wait, are you doing an ad read on my channel?
It's not like you were about to do one.
Fair. You know what? Knock yourself out.
HelloFresh makes preparing homemade meals easy. With pre-portioned ingredients delivered to your door every week, you don't have to spend time searching online for recipes or going to the grocery store. You can choose from tons of different meals to fit your personal food goals, whether that's vegetarian, protein smart, or just the ones that look the best from the pictures. Like the chicken panini. That one was really good.
You literally can't eat.
My buddy here isn't exactly a culinarian, and if he invited a date over, he'd pour 2 bowls of cereal and then wouldn't have a date anymore. But with HelloFresh, he's been stepping up his culinary game. All right, well, if you're gonna be rude, then I'll just do it. I've been wanting to get better at cooking for long enough, and I'd sort of been staring at HelloFresh from across the club as a way to do that, and it ended up being a pretty great way to get started. Plus, my parents gave a thumbs up to the camera, so you don't just have to take my word for it. Yeah, you can take mine! That's nothing. If you want to try out HelloFresh for yourself, use my link or go to HelloFresh.com and use code POGYAKOMAR60 for 60% off plus free shipping. The link is in the description, and thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video.
Is this gonna be a regular thing? Having a Quagsire puppet that talks about sponsors for me?
I don't know. You're the genius that came up with it. Now, Rumbleverse's gameplay was built around 2 core concepts. The first was being a 3D platformer, which, despite clearly being the best video game genre, isn't popular with everyone. It was also a fighting game, a genre infamous for being quite unwelcoming and frustrating for newcomers. If you weren't willing to engage with both of these ideas equally, you were gonna have a bad time. Pulling off a combo was only half the battle, because if the little shit you were obliterating started running, you had to know how to fling yourself across the map to catch them. Problem was, Rumbleverse didn't do the best job at teaching new players, and it also wasn't the type of game where you could hop in and have a friend tell you to pick up gun and shoot bad guy. It was easy enough to drop into a match and button mash like a madman, but the only way to truly learn the mechanics was to load into a public playground and walk to different locations on the map, which was filled with other players that could hit you if you didn't toggle off combat in the settings. I think a dedicated tutorial could have been way more engaging, especially if Skip Leggerday was comically guiding new players through it. I was confused as hell until I awkwardly stumbled through the playground instructions, and there were still a ton of interactions I didn't understand. Despite tutorials and basic practice already being a big ask for a battle royale, not making this information organized or easily accessible made Rumbleverse feel even more unapproachable. Now, I'm not about to make a combat deep dive reminiscing about how you could punish a roll spammer with a charged slap into an Irish whip wall combo. I'm just here to give you the basics. In Rumbleverse, you could use hit moves, which were blockable, and grab moves, which went through block but were countered by hits. You could also dodge roll. Everything expanded outward from these ideas, but despite Rumbleverse not being as technically complicated as a traditional fighting game, there were a lot of exciting opportunities in every match, from finding moves that comboed with each other, to utilizing weapons and the environment to your advantage, to figuring out how to revive a friend while they were being camped by enemies. Describing Rumbleverse as rock, paper, scissors is like summing up Counter-Strike as move mouse to guy's head and click. Sure, it's rock, paper, scissors, if the rock could dodge roll away from the paper with a fast enough reaction time, or if there was a second pair of scissors built to cut through stone, or if the paper could chokeslam the scissors from behind while they were busy cutting up the rock that tried to punish them with the recovery move they used after getting knocked down by the paper's rock, paper, rock elbow drop combo. Do you see where I'm going with this? Sometimes you'd have to play mind games to guess when the enemy would let off the block as their stamina decreased, or utilize the priority system to beat the quick moves they kept throwing out. Like, imagine if your opponent threw out rock, but you threw out a better rock. Because you could vicious grab, but special grab beats that, but a regular hit beat that, but a special hit beats a regular hit, but if you had a weapon, you could beat a special hit, but get this, a move with power priority beat a weapon, and if the enemy had super, well, you shouldn't have swung. Every encounter was a physical engagement. If someone had a problem, they had to say it to your face, and if they messed up, it was your turn to say it to theirs. Once you got the hang of things, it was fairly rare to get killed without being able to respond, whether that meant fighting back or running away. The time to kill was also considerably longer than most other battle royales, so fights were a serious commitment where you needed to pay attention to your surroundings. To discourage hiding and camping, valuable perks were granted throughout the match based on damage dealt, so players who spent the match actively fighting would be at a permanent advantage. Another one of the best parts about Rumbleverse was the pacing. It was genuinely as close to perfect as I've seen a battle royale feasibly get. Instead of landing anywhere on a massive map, looting alone for 10 minutes, and then getting insta-killed from 100 meters away, Rumbleverse's boundaries were set from the very beginning. Players were forced to land within a small piece of the map, which led to very little downtime between looting, platforming, and fighting as the zone quickly shrank, with most matches lasting less than 15 minutes. The looting and exploration phase itself was also much more engaging than hopping in a car or holding down sprint, since the entire city was built to be a giant platforming playground. Even while outside of combat, you were making constant tiny decisions to maneuver around buildings and terrain like a true speedrunner. Plus, the zone didn't just exist to bring players closer to each other. It functioned so differently from your average battle royale that it often became a strategic part of the game's combat. When you were outside the ring, the announcer would count down from 10, and if he got to 0, you'd be immediately disqualified from the match. However, your time would regenerate while inside the zone, which allowed for aggressive out-of-bounds playmaking. Weaving in and out of the play area to escape and heal was perfectly viable. Killing someone by pressuring them outside the ring until they DQ'd was a core mechanic, and jumping back in at the last second after reviving a friend was always a fantastic feeling.
Help me, help me, help me.
I'll take her out with me!
Keep her down there, dude. Keep her down there.
Oh, she's not getting back up. Trust me, we win.
As enjoyable as controlled fights could be, the beauty of Rumbleverse was definitely in its chaos. It was, in fact, a battle royale. Sure, you might know the inputs for an extended wall combo, but do you think you could have pulled it off when the guy's duo partner was sprinting at you with a cricket bat? Or maybe you wanted to land a big toss, but 3 motherfuckers with a hunger for human teeth were ready to prove they could knock yours clean out. Fighting around the hazards that were other players was what made matches so exciting. The verticality and obstacles created by the game's boundaries allowed for all sorts of situational fights to unfold, and really pushed the game's environmental design and platforming elements into the spotlight. One time, when Pine and I were up against a team of 4 players, I used a nearby car to double bounce one of the enemies onto the top of a tall sign, where there wasn't enough time for the enemy team to climb up and revive him. In the right hands, just about every move was viable depending on the situation. I was never looking for the same 2 purple books every match like I'd go looking for a max rarity shotgun. Giant Swing let you toss people into the water, Izuna Drop was great for repositioning, Sumo Slap could pressure block and lower stamina, and Atomic Punchline was great for wanting to feel like I'll definitely go to hell when I die. In this match, after losing Pine and noticing this zone was near the water, I maxed out on health and stamina, grabbed a couple golf clubs, and used a special grab to repeatedly toss people into the water.
Oh, bye-bye. Let's go. Oh, do it again, do it again, do it again.
Bye-bye.
Let's go.
And I won that game. In another match, I beat a team of 3 not because I had the highest damaging moves, but because I used a funny kick to launch 2 of them so far off a mountain that they died from fall damage. As I sorted through nearly 100 clips I'd saved over the course of playing Rumbleverse, I was able to remember the exact context for each one mere seconds after seeing where I was on the map. I've got a clip where I spent over a minute surviving against a team of 4 by running around and swinging on poles like a little monkey, a clip where 5 of us kept elbow dropping each other off a truck inside the tiny final ring, a clip where Pine and I disqualified a guy by repeatedly throwing chicken at him, and a large assortment of crazy physics interactions and hilarious fuck-ups, like when Pine disqualified a guy by carrying him a mile outside the ring, or when I had to rescue an innocent civilian stuck between the train tracks.
Can you jump now?
No, I can't jump.
Oh,
I'm literally
what?
stuck. Oh, now I'm full. Okay, maybe hit me. Hold on. Here, I have a golf club. Hit me with the golf club, maybe.
It fell in.
Crap. There we go. Awesome. Thank you, Rumbleverse. I'm actually just stuck now. I'm sorry.
There.
Oh, you got
there.
me. You got me. That did it.
The part about them being hilarious isn't exactly a game mechanic, so to speak, but it's what made Rumbleverse so special. It's important to me, at least, that in all of the time I spent playing this game, I was happy. There were no depressing losses or eventless matches. Me and the boys were passionately making callouts or cracking up laughing at the absurdity of every fight, and each match managed to tell a story all its own. I'm stuck! I'm stuck!
Oh,
I'm in the infinite down. Yeah, dude, it's gonna DQ me! You have to knock me out of it!
I can't save you!
Please.
We tried this before, there's no way! See? Wait!
What do you mean,
Wait,
see?
what?
That's why I asked you to come.
I saved you, okay? Stop
That's why I asked you to
Stop
come in, you
complaining.
fucker. This is also why I think duos was the more interesting mode. To be fair, I very rarely play online multiplayer games by myself, but the extra strategies and camaraderie that a partner brought to the game made it feel like the definitive way to play. On one end, you could help your teammate out of an enemy combo if they messed up, or extend a combo by working together, but you had to keep in mind that the opposite was also true. A long ground combo might have needed to be cut short and dodge canceled if someone was trying to hit you from behind, while grabs and shoulder tosses could be used in lieu of maximizing damage to reposition when defending against a revive. And you could also just grab someone, hold them down, and start digging for their lunch money.
Oh.
Do it. Oh shit! The unfortunate part about Rumbleverse's matchmaking was that its limited player base could result in awkward and boring matches. Battle Royales need a large number of active players to properly fill lobbies while taking into account both skill level and region, but outside of peak hours, many Rumbleverse games would end up being filled with bots. I even played a couple rounds where it was difficult to tell if there was a single other human in the lobby, and earned more than a few unsatisfying wins where the final teams were bots.
Wait, are they bots?
They are. Dude, this guy stood still for way too long.
They're actually bots.
They're bots.
No! Bro, was it actually a full bot match? What? Is it just the time of night? Like, there's literally 0.
Not having a large amount of real players occasionally took away from the game's carefully designed pacing. 1v1ing or 2v2ing a single human team for the win was enjoyable in its own right, but not when it happened every game after a near silent looting cycle. Some of the most exciting matches I ever played were mini tournaments held during developer streams in the game's final days, because all 40 players in the lobby were real people. Yes, I won one of the matches, and yes, I am immortalizing my player card displaying the reward I was given here in this video. I only got to equip it for like a week, okay? Let me have this. Call it favoritism, bias, actually being pretty good at a video game for once in my life, whatever you want. But I think the gameplay of Rumbleverse was absolutely incredible, and I don't have anything serious to critique about it. However, I do have critiques of the critiques, because as much as it seems like everyone is now sad to see it go, the general opinions I saw towards this game while it was still online were a little more toxic. Despite Rumbleverse being a very complex and competitive game, the developers managed to implement plenty of silly ideas. You could stick stop signs in your pockets, hurl giant crates from the tops of buildings, and squish someone's head in with a trash can. Cheesy strats like hitting people into the water with golf clubs or elbow dropping off skyscrapers could result in instant death, but they were never upsetting to me because I knew that in the next match, I could just do it to someone else.
Moves and everything. Of course.
Yet this very idea, the mixing of silly and competitive mechanics, is where my critique of the critique lies, and that is in some of the community responses to Rumbleverse. I often find that the more polarizing a game is, the more interesting it can be. If a game is unique and takes serious creative risks, it will generally have a smaller player base than something designed for mass marketability. But despite the damage that the internet has done to people's critical thinking skills, disliking a game doesn't inherently make it bad. For example, I don't like most traditional fighting games because labbing precise inputs in a practice room for hours on end feels like the opposite of fun. But I don't think it's bad game design. It's just not for me. In a similar way, the fanbase of Rumbleverse was in a constant state of conflict. I'm talking about the fanbase specifically because I don't even want to think about the comments I saw on the reveal trailer. some players wanted the game to be like the early days, before everyone knew how to perform brainless wall combos, but also forgot that getting one-shotted by a super grab with insane tracking wasn't exactly fun. Others wanted a traditional one-on-one fighting game where the battle royale was irrelevant, any goofy mechanic was removed, and every input required a million hours of practice. Talking about truly balancing a game is a route I don't want to go down, but by the time Rumbleverse was on its final patch, I was confident in using an insane variety of the game's items, moves, and strategies. With how solid the game functioned at its core, I feel like a lot of people ended up missing the forest for the trees. Inevitable side effects of the online experience like tracking, lock-on, and latency were carefully considered from the start of development, but could never be fully eliminated in a battle royale where Lil Jimmy was playing from his Xbox on his stepdad's 1 megabit Wi-Fi. Despite this, many players made it out to seem like some magic 40-person rollback netcode was the only way to save Rumbleverse. If you were to take a look at Reddit comments, Twitter replies, or even chat messages in developer streams while the game was still online, you could easily get the impression that it was too buggy or broken to function at all. Talking about this subject invites me to walk on a few eggshells, but I've found that Rumbleverse was an inherently divisive game, and outside of minor technical issues, I don't think it could have been fixed without losing a piece of its identity. In the world of gaming, it's very rare to see silliness and competitiveness truly mix, especially with the rise of esports, ranked modes, and constant patches to balance features for vastly different skill levels. Trying to perform a new combo you just learned only to be decimated by the meteoric force of some dude jumping off a building was a strange feeling, but at the end of the day, I think Rumbleverse did what it set out to do perfectly. In the world it set out to do it in, though, it just couldn't win. While wanting bugs to be fixed is understandable, individual players would often scream at developers to snap their fingers and make the changes they wanted to see. Despite what this vocal minority tended to believe, harassing and bashing devs was not the way to inspire positive change, and general sentiment quickly shifted after the game players took for granted and called dead ended up in an early grave. I've read posts and comments saying that the devs were just money hungry, that gaming was just a business to them, even the stupid ones that think the cosmetics team could have somehow gotten tossed over to balancing. While I don't have the mental energy to explain why the square block doesn't fit in the triangle hole, I can tell you one thing. Rumbleverse would not have been made if all Iron Galaxy cared about was money. There are simply not enough well-endowed anime women for that to be the case. Sure, money's always a factor, but I struggle to believe that even Epic thought this bizarre wrestling game would be the ultimate cash cow. Rumbleverse was a shining beacon of originality, and it did have the potential to find some level of success, but I don't think it could have ever been the next Fortnite or Call of Duty or whatever new series ends up becoming America's most palatable. Iron Galaxy took a massive gamble with their ideas, but those risks simply weren't rewarded in the current gaming landscape. To enjoy Rumbleverse, you had to be into battle royales. You also had to be into 3D platformers. So we're already down to maybe 7 people here on a good day. If you were lucky enough to fit into the first 2 categories, you also needed to be interested in fighting games and patient enough to want to learn against a competitive player base. But you also had to think it was funny that a guy could tackle you off a skyscraper, bounce off a spring, carry you back over the skyscraper, and kill you in one hit. I'm not even mad. Sure, there's a bit of crossover here and there, but if you didn't love every single one of these things, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed your time with Rumbleverse. Notice how there's almost no overlap in the dead center. If you zoom in all the way to that single pixel, it's just a picture of me. That's how big I am in real life. And I didn't even mention the art style. Okay, wait, I actually like it. Despite my time spent coming from a love of the game itself and not from an urge to grind a battle pass or unlock rewards or see a bunch of EXP fly across my screen, extrinsic motivation is undoubtedly a core piece of online games, and Rumbleverse was lacking. It had a battle pass, some missions, and a little ranking system based on how much you played, but it wasn't nearly as complex as the giants in this space. There weren't any major limited time events or crossovers with other games and media. The item shop got a couple new skins every week, but it was a far cry from the average predatory, rotating mess of FOMO. You could customize your player card, but there weren't special characters and moves to unlock, classes to upgrade, ranked ladders to climb, or tournaments to enter. For better or worse, there wasn't much to grind for. You played Rumbleverse to play Rumbleverse. Grabbing someone's attention amidst the ever-expanding sea of free video games is hard, and keeping their attention and interest for long periods of time is way harder. As much as I'd like to view myself as some high and mighty critic who spends his mornings bowing to Shadow of the Colossus, wacky updates and events are often the thing that get me back into games like Fortnite, and I have bought my fair share of battle passes. I hate them as much as the next guy, but sometimes gamer brain like it when big number go up get shiny thing. People missed the loot boxes from Overwatch 1 when Overwatch 2 switched to a skin shop. People missed loot boxes. By no means do I think constant large-scale change and a drip feed of rewards are the only things that keep the lights on for live service games, but Rumbleverse always seemed like it was more interested in being a fun and unique video game than a dynamically shifting storefront of mass appeal. I think I spent maybe $20 on Rumbleverse for the fish skin and the battle pass. I played Valorant significantly less, but I think the RGB butterfly knife I had cost more, and the guns that had fish in them that I bought right before I stopped playing, those were like $70. In the cutthroat space it tried to compete in, Rumbleverse dealt itself a tough hand, and even if it had more time, I just don't know if things would have played out much differently.
Alright, that works. Good night, Rumbleverse.
It's been an honor.
I go through phases of getting addicted to, and then quickly uninstalling, multiplayer games. I love spending time with my friends, but I tend to prefer the varied nature of single-player titles to the repetition of a competitive shooter or battle royale. Yet despite this, Iron Galaxy had something different in mind, so it clicked for me. I genuinely felt the urge to play this game almost every day after its release, and I'm genuinely upset that it wasn't able to find its footing. No matter how long any multiplayer game lasts, the key value I find in them is the quality time I'm able to spend with my friends, and the silly interactions I can have with other players along the way.
Wait, no.
What?
No.
No! 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 Fight me! No! No!
The close quarters nature of Rumbleverse's combat lended itself to a strangely human experience, where I was constantly reminded that I was up against real people. Instead of getting shot from 500 meters away by a golden sniper rifle, if you saw a guy across a building, he'd have to, jump over to kill you, so chances were he might just wave first. I mean, that guy was usually me, but I saw plenty of other wave initiators, I promise.
Okay, this is our new quad. We have new
Okay,
teammates.
we got that guy and the above astronaut got it.
They replace us so easily.
What the fuck is going on?
This is too many. This is too many.
This is too many.
This is too
This is like
many.
the lobby. Dude, everyone's waving. They're waving across from us too. The whole lobby is like in a truce. Oh shit!
Oh god, it's all falling apart.
Oh, get out of there, bro.
Being a part of this small community meant recognizing other players on a regular basis, which was pretty strange, but also really fun. Waving to someone I 1v1'd for the win in a previous match, remembering someone's playstyle based on their silly outfit, or even running in absolute terror when I realized that the cat and dog with millions of damage numbers on their player card knew how to do an infinite Emerald Crusher combo. These memories feel more human, like they're going to stick with me longer than the often fleeting feelings of violent competition found in most multiplayer games.
Eating chicken. That's what they're doing.
Dude, what?
They're crazy.
You can
They're
do that?
crazy.
Is it infinite?
Yes. Oh, dude, it's the cat dog squad. It's them.
Dude,
It's them.
Oh my god!
No way. No fucking way. Dude, run. Just fucking run.
It's all too easy to view the world of gaming as a meritocracy, that if a game is incredible, it'll inevitably achieve some degree of success. But that's just not the case. Amazing games that are worth your time and money often don't hit it big. Yet while countless single-player experiences go unnoticed every year, they don't need to maintain thousands of active players to keep the lights on. I can go find a random-ass game on Steam with 12 reviews that came out 5 years ago, buy it and boot it up no problem. But when a game like Rumbleverse takes a leap of faith and can't find enough gamers to catch it, and keep spending money on it, the game dies. The servers shut down. Unless another publisher makes the decision to give it a second chance, Rumbleverse will never be playable again. There's an idea I've been mulling around in my head for years now concerning live service games, which is that day by day, each and every one of them will die. I've touched on this concept a bit in my videos about gacha games, but Rumbleverse has given me the means to talk about it in a more emotional context. It's sad to think about how these games won't last forever. Their constant updates and changes can be exciting, but even industry icons like League of Legends will one day close their servers, and it's strange to consider that the kids growing up in this era of gaming may not be able to revisit their childhood in the same way I can, by plugging in my GameCube and playing my favorite games just as they always were. Hell, there's even a dark side to a game constantly switching things up, which is that the game fundamentally changes in the blink of an eye. Comments yearning for the joy of a simpler time aren't just found on the soundtracks of NES classics, they're front and center on the lobby music for the early seasons of Fortnite. Kids and adults alike are already missing an entirely different version of their favorite game. I'd love to stay hopeful, but I don't know if I see Rumbleverse coming back or ever truly succeeding in its current form, and the fact that I'll likely never play it again makes my heart sink. But you know what hurts even more? The fact that this game, the product of countless hours of work from over 100 passionate developers over the course of 4 years, only got to exist for 6 months. They weren't done, they were just getting started. They were hinting at new updates and improvements and lore events, and I'm 99% sure the Kraken was gonna be involved, and it would have rampaged through Grappital City or some crazy shit, and I wish we could have all been there to see it. While this is my first experience with a game I love being retired, it's become an all too common occurrence in the world of live service. In recent years, Battleborn, Knockout City, Splitgate, Spellbreak, Terra, Battlerite, and Paragon have all shared similar fates, just to name, well, more than a few. I've seen plenty of articles and videos popping up about the death of live service games, but online multiplayer is still unbelievably popular, and features like reward systems and skin shops are so embedded into modern games that I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. If people truly tire of battle royales and battle passes in their current form, they'll simply evolve into something new. The reality is that we've hit a breaking point where there are too many free games that demand an infinite amount of time. So for every new online game that seems to spring up and go viral, tens of others fizzle out well before reaching the finish line. Don't get me wrong though, this is not where the video ends. I'm not about to close things out by painting Rumbleverse as a failure, because it wasn't. I wholeheartedly believe this game was one of a kind and that the world just wasn't ready for it. I want to send my sincerest thanks and praise to everyone at Iron Galaxy for coming up with this zany, hilarious, complex, colorful, and joyous experience, and I think everyone who worked on it should be extremely proud. In what other game can I pull out a giant key tied to a baseball bat, hit a dude with a Kingdom Hearts ass air combo, and super slam him into the ground so hard it makes a crater?
No fucking way.
Boom, baby. Let's go.
I can tell that from the very beginning, these developers had an incredibly strong vision and stuck with it despite any obstacles they encountered. They made the game they wanted to make. A game where you can smash people's heads in as a unicorn fish on vacation or an astronaut in a Speedo. After launch, they saw the toxic feedback, they saw people call Rumbleverse a dead game, they literally had bots named Lazy Devs and LOL Dead Game. but they kept filling the world of Grappital City with wacky moves and wonderful Easter eggs while championing the positive corners of their community. During its final days, they issued automatic refunds to all players who spent money, unlocked every cosmetic item for free, organized behind-the-scenes development streams, and continued to support fan-organized events until the servers finally went down. When I read the open letter from the dev team, my eyes started to well up. When you work on a video game, you imagine the community that will show up to play it someday. For years, we dreamed about a lively city filled with people fighting to become a champion. We strived to create a vibrant place that celebrated the competitive spirit. Our goal was to bring joy back to online multiplayer gaming. The people who gave Rumbleverse a chance and took it on as a new hobby have validated every day that we put into bringing our ideas to life. We have loved watching you play. We have learned from your stories and your insights. We even passed around the art you've created to immortalize your best moments in the streets. It is our sincerest hope that this news does not mark the end of Rumbleverse. You may not yet have seen the Rumble in its final form. If we can welcome people back onto the deck of the Battle Barge again, we hope you'll be there, laced up and ready to take your rightful place in the canon.
Oh, there's someone else here.
Oh, what the hell?
Oh wait, I thought we were in a private lobby.
No, I didn't make a private one. I just put us on the playground. This guy's just looking at the sunset with us.
Look, there's another guy behind you.
Oh my god.
Wait, will he find us? Will he see us? He's coming.
Don't hit us, please.
Man, people loading up playground at
Oh
this time.
my god!
This is amazing.
Never in my life did I think the first script I'd write that would make me cry would be about a wrestling battle royale where you could play as a giant chicken named Rumbleverse. Yet here we are. When I first landed in Grappital City, I thought I'd waste a few days and move on to something else. Instead, Rumbleverse brought me closer to my friends and became one of my favorite games of all time, and I miss it already. While I'm unsure what the future holds, I would love to see this game return in some form. It feels like there was too much love and passion poured into every corner for it to just disappear. And I hope more people will give it a chance if that time comes. At the very least, I hope this video can serve as a lasting memory of the enjoyment that I, along with many others, were able to experience over these painfully short 6 months. A way for others to discover this game well into the future, and for me to remember it as well. Sure, plenty of people dismissed it as just another battle royale, but everyone that played it, we know it was different. We got to be part of the Rumble.
If you'll excuse a bit of sentimentality, I just wanted to let everyone watching or competing today know how much it means to me to play a small role in the continuing glory of the Rumble. I don't know about you, but that wild blue horizon calls to me sometimes. But I can't go. There's too much action and excitement right here at home.
This dude's lagging like crazy.
Oh my god, what is happening?
What?
It explodes. Watch this.
Did it just shoot us straight up? Yeah. it did.
Jesus Christ.
How was it like pre-aiming straight up? I don't know.
We're hitting the top of the skybox.
The top of the skybox.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Eddies.
Oh my god, you killed me!
Guys, Kate's animals is
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Can you golf pump me over here?
What?
There's a golf pump.
He wants you to hit him across.
Right? Okay.
Oh my god!
What? Oh my god, that kind of worked!
Hey, oh, dude.
Oh no, what am I doing? What am I doing?
What have you done?
What is Okay, I gotta see how this ends up.
What? I couldn't even grab! What the fuck?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was awesome! Oh, dude, I hit all of them with
God,
that
that was
punch
amazing.
line. Kick his fucking ass to the moon and back. Yeah!
If you swing for the king, you best not miss. I took his Omega Cyclone. All you?
See ya.
All you? Yo! They're dead, just the one person.
Got him.
Yo, we're fucking good at this game.
How did this game fail, guys?
I really don't know.
Exactly.
Oh, dude, this is awesome. Oh my god! That was awesome! I got nut shotted. Let's go, boys. Yeah!
It'll be back, man. It's gotta be back, right? It'll come back.